Hallå! Hörrni, hemskt välkommen till det seminariet som vi ska hålla på in English. So, welcome to this seminar. I'm Bengt Aldén at Biobusiness Arena. And we are working closely with the Mid-Sweden University and FSC and in these seminar, which will now end for this, for this spring. This is the last seminar for the year, and we start again for the year. And we start again in September. They used to say that everything you can produce from oil, you can also produce from wood. Except we're not doing that yet. As you know, we're only producing paper and lumber and pulp. There's a lot of new products to develop. And there is a big change going on in the forest industry, as you're aware of. Quite thrilling and necessary, but some of us think it's getting far too slow. The forest company, I would say, taking the lead in this new business out of wood is UPM in Finland, from my point of view in a way. And that's why I'm very excited to have Heikki Ilvespe here with us from UPM Biofuels. You were supposed to come here earlier, and I'm very happy you could do it before the summer, because we've been waiting a long time for you. And so we're many which are interested in this seminar. So, tervetuloa, Heikki.
Kiitoksia. Thank you, Bengt, for the very nice words about our company. It's a pleasure to be here. I promised some words about myself first. My name is Heikki Ilvespe. I'm in charge of R&D in UPM. I have been 4 years with UPM now. And my background is half of my life I have lived in Switzerland, so I grew up there. When I had my education is a mechanical engineer for energy and fluid dynamics. And after that I moved to Finland, where my parents originate. So my Swedish is pretty bad, so that's why it's in English. And my professional life, I've always been in R&D, somehow in development. I have worked for Valmet. Then I was in the plastics industry with medical devices, förädlas. Then I joined Valmet again, which at that time was Metso. And after that I joined UPM. So paper industry is pretty familiar to me. But let's go to today's topic. So it's really about, it's one story, it's our story, how we approach the change and what it means for us. There are many stories out there of paper companies changing, and they are different. I think the main thing is that if you don't have a new story, your only story will be once upon a time there was a company. So I think it's crucial always to figure out what is the appropriate story and approach business-wise today and act accordingly, and that's part of this story. So the world is changing, that's why we need new stories. What is change? For us it's opportunity. Here is a list of changes in the world. There is resource scarcity, there is change in economic gravity, meaning the business is moving to other areas, different areas. There is climate change, and there is digitalization. And in our industry, everybody, specifically United Paper Mills. So we have originated from manufacturing paper. All of us acknowledge this is a challenge for us, the digitalization. And it has taken over now on paper side. But as a matter of fact, all the rest of them are opportunities. Climate change, we have a renewable source of raw material. There are new business areas growing or new areas growing economically gives opportunity, and we have learned to use our resources efficiently, and we have a renewable one. So we have, as UPM, taken the decision to go for the growth and taking our competitive advantages to go for it. We have material and energy efficiency, we have these renewable materials, we recycle products, we are used to recycle everything which we can. The only thing which we need, and that's the hard part, is the innovation. What kind of businesses are good for us? What kind of products do the consumers and citizens need? What could be an example? If I'd say to you, we build a car out of renewable materials which runs on biofuels, so renewable fuels. That's one example. Is it possible? Well, in last year we introduced a concept car where we actually replaced most of the plastic parts with bio-based renewable composite materials. I'm going to tell you a little later what kind of materials they are at the present. And then, of course, even more important, the car is running on UPM biofuel. At that time it still was pilot production, and the pilot people were quite busy to get enough fuel to run the cars because we had also to test the fuel with real cars, so we were quite busy at that time. So I said consumers ask for it. In the car industry you can see it. And actually we are in the midst of an industrial revolution. Bengt mentioned it, bio-based is one new sustainable bio-based industry is one big theme in Europe and one big theme worldwide, because we can get independent of oil, fossil oil. And of course at the same time we take care of the climate change. We reduce carbon emissions. So while we have been suffering and are still suffering of this digitalization and the digital web, there are a whole lot of opportunities for us in the bioeconomy, with renewable energy, with green chemicals, just to mention probably the three most important from the point of view of UPM. And just to show you how this shows up in all industries, consumer products specifically, consumers want to be sustainable. So if you can get a product which is more sustainable, people will like to buy it, at least if it's at the same price level, and that's why all big companies have activities going on in that perspective. So Coca-Cola wants to have set the target to double the amount of servings with the same environmental footprint. So they want to reduce CO2 to half, basically. Danone has decided to use bioplastics for their packaging. Procter & Gamble wants to be based on 100% renewable and recyclable materials. And as shown by the car example as well, all car manufacturers are looking for options which make their footprint smaller. It's not just the engine, it's the whole car and its parts. So our vision is really to integrate this into the industrial revolution of this bio-industry. So we merge forest into bio and build a more sustainable, innovation-driven future. And add more value to our raw material, to our recycled products, and that's then our business. if you look for new businesses, you refocus. So we had to actually adjust not only, of course, what we do in research, you have to select focuses, but if you want to make business, you have also the businesses to refocus. Hey, my business is not paper, my business is biofuels. So what happened in our company, and it's quite recent, so this is quite a steep change as you're going to see during the whole presentation. We split our businesses in 2013 into 6 business areas and 1 growing business area, one, let's say, incubator, which is growing businesses. So we still have a majority of our business. Our whole business is 10 billion euros. We have about 20,000 employees at the moment. So Paper ENA is Paper Europe and Paper North America. And these are the challenging markets. So slowly declining the use of paper, and you have to be very competitive. And that competitive and very challenging business area is now one business area. At the moment, it represents roughly half of our turnover. So already here you can see that there has been some change. And actually all the other areas are either fastly growing areas or growing areas. So we have, instead of one business area, paper, which was declining, we now have 6 and even more business areas which are searching for growth and looking for growth. Plywood, we have there new applications, for example, in LNG tankers. The insulation is very successful. We have a big market share there. So with specific new products, we have been good there. You know all about this pulp production. So we sell now pulp to packaging producers, tissue producers, both growing areas. And of course, we all also need pulp. So pulp is a real growth area for us. And in this biorefining area, we have also biofuels, which you are going to hear a little more about. And then the growth markets. While we say paper is not anymore growing, in the growth markets we have a growth. And there we select specific growth areas. It's, let's say, specialty papers and labeling, label stock, which is actually, we do also the whole labels in Raflatac. So this is basically packaging, all kinds of labels. You can find our labels on your shampoo bottles. You can find our labels on wine bottles. So that's, that has been actually one of the growing areas for years and years, labeling for more and more products. And then we have also separated our energy business. So all the other businesses are on the order of magnitude of 500 million to 1 billion euros. And then the new areas where we are looking into new possibilities and have built already, let's say, small business structures or biocomposites and biochemicals. So there are products out there already in the market being sold on commercial basis in both areas. All of you know, I mentioned them already once, we have a very good background in doing our job effectively. We have learned to recycle more and more. We have resource efficiency. And I think a very important part of the sustainability, and specifically we could see that in the biofuels area, is the sustainable sourcing of your biomass. Some oil companies have run into deep trouble because they haven't had the whole value chain. We have it ready. We had to do it already with our paper production. And as a recycling example, I could mention probably a Schotten mill. There we even have increased our scope of recycling. We take municipal waste, sort it, take out the paper, make paper out of it, and the rest of the materials we sort and sell. So we have even expanded our scope of operation. And here basically the target of our operations, of course, if you talk about resource efficiency, zero waste is the target. And that's also a trend in Europe, and I think one big theme is bioeconomy. Another big theme is this circular economy. We have learned this lesson already during our work and are learning it and are very good at it. So we have two good themes for future products and two good competencies to do this. So we really have perfect background to use our resources to make various sustainable new products. So what are the options UPM is looking at? We start from the biomass sourcing and logistics, which is really the basis. We have gone to paper, plywood, sawn timber. We have increased the share in energy production of bio-based energy very much, used our own waste materials or byproducts to create heat and electricity. We have moved to the labels, as I mentioned. We are moving to composites. You see already some of the products there on the pictures. We have gone already into the transport biofuels production, and then the chemicals will be in the next step. That's roughly the scope we are looking at. So how does this look in practice? If you do a change, you have always to do business to finance the change. And of course, our base business, we have a good base business. We do good business in paper, which actually makes it able to further invest into development. And if paper is decreasing, we have to increase the growth areas. So in practice, this is now how it's presented to shareholders, but it's also very important for R&D and development people to understand that you need to have your base and the money to have the development effort. So one of them is, of course, you have to be operative very effectively. Does not interest R&D people too much, but it's important. We work on it. Then expansion of existing businesses. We expanded plywood, as I mentioned, we have new products there. Expansion of plywood. Pulp capacity has been increased. Then biofuels, which is already a new product, has been started up, and this year is going to start up in China, which is a growth market, specialty papers and label stock paper machine. And this is basically 200 million more EBITDA, which this will create. So EBITDA can be used to pay R&D or investments into new capacity. And then also to pay out shareholders. The shareholders get their part. And in extension to real business, we have to create a good portfolio to future value creation, and that will be then new business areas, which then will be later on invested into bigger capacity mills. So just in practice, what this means, meant in pulp production, 10% more. So 3 big pulp production units were increased capacity-wise. The capacity was increased. This is roughly a quarter of a big mill, which was added in 1 year. Then opportunities in growth markets. This was the label stock, so it's a whole paper mill which is producing label stock and specialty paper, is going to start up this year, mid this year. And last but not least, new business. So it's the world's first biorefinery producing 120 million liters of advanced renewable diesel out of wood-based material. So we are here not competing with the food value chain, as most of the biggest share actually in Europe of the renewable fuels is still competing with the food chain, as they are crops which are out of the agricultural area. Our biofuels plant started up in beginning of this year, and actually at the very moment we are starting official the selling of the product in the stations ST1 and ABC. The ST1 you have here in Sweden as well, but not yet our fuel. Probably in some future there will be some. What else? If we go to new areas, we have to have, it creates actually a lot of work. You have to innovate, as I mentioned. And what means innovation? It means actually a lot of work. It means you have to go to new areas. And what I find very interesting, what I like to mention, I have been 25 years in the industry. I've seen steadily down-going businesses. I have seen small growth, packaging, quite nice growth when I was in Valmet. But I've never seen something like that, not even in my time with förädlas. In R&D, how many more people, how much infrastructure, how much knowledge we invested in a short time in this kind of development. So really, I joined UPM 4 years ago, and the change where you have to have new competencies, you have to build up a new group, you have to build the infrastructure. This is amazing. This is fun. This is good thing for R&D people. Really new things, and you have to increase. You have to do your job. This has been very exciting exercise. And also all new other areas change the structure of R&D, change also how we work as a company, which can be seen, one result which can be seen as we were going for biofuels, we were going for composites, we were going for chemicals. The patent filings, which is one result of the R&D, which I mentioned, we had to put more people into new areas. Our filings have increased dramatically. So this is also a dramatic change from past. In the past, it was more steady, and we bought technology. We buy technology still, but we do also our own development. It's probably because we have to speed up with the change. So this has been an exciting time, and I have to say, never in the 25 years has change been so fast. We have discussed with Bengt now, it's really interesting. Change is fast, it's challenging as well at the same time. No question about that. Challenging and interesting. But not everything is new. I think Kaukas site is a nice example actually of a pulp and paper mill site which has evolved during the years. They started with this, how do you call it? They made all kinds of wood products there, this small, where is our Finn? Spools for yarns. And actually in the very same building where they made the spools for the yarns is now the control room for the biofuels plant. Somewhere, I think here. if I got it right. So I think it just shows you have to change and you have to go with the time, and our industry has good tools to do different kinds of things. And we have a good infrastructure already. Operational wise, sourcing wise, and then also structure wise. We can do big things big. So we were the first to introduce this wood-based renewable diesel. With bioverno we can reduce greenhouse emissions compared to fossil fuel by 80%, and all of the raw material is renewable which we use. So biofuels is commercially available. What else is commercially available? We had this concept car with the composites. So the bioverno is available, and actually the composites are also available. And they also lower the carbon footprint by about half of fossil fuel-based composites. And we have actually already a long background in the composites. That's why we moved forward in the composites area, and it was quite natural for us to move forward in the composites area. I don't know how familiar our decking is in Sweden. In Finland everybody knows it. In Germany we have a very good market share. Hopefully everybody knows it. Hands up, who knew Profi before I came here? So now you know everybody. About half. That's quite good. So we started to collect, this is about 7 years ago, or close to 10 years ago, we started to collect label waste. And basically the label waste is mixed up to a new product, which is a composite material, which is then used for decking materials. So it was basically recycling. But the technology we use is actually, here you see recycled paper and plastic cut-offs. So it's actually a combination of paper, plastic. It's a wood composite. Of course, it has always a color and is limited in its applications. But the same technology we then used we used pulp, mixed it with plastics, and the end result is UPM formi granulates, which we replace roughly half of the fossil plastic with cellulose, and by that we cut the carbon footprint to half. And the very interesting thing about this one is it's colorless. You can dye it, so you can do all kinds of colors. You can then use it because of the colors for all kinds of products, appliances, furniture. We had the example in one picture of a furniture. And one product which has been outstandingly successful actually has been this loudspeaker. We still can injection mold the product, which is a very cost-effective way to produce the product. And the fiber gives nice acoustics to it. So you have very often a wooden loudspeaker at home. This combines some of the features but makes it cheaper to produce, and you can produce free-form loudspeakers. So in this application you get a better environmental footprint and a better performance. And only then you get it going a little more easy. If you just argue you have an environmentally friendly product and you compete against a fossil product, it's very tough to get market share. You need something more, and we have seen it in this example quite nicely. And also, let's say, even in these plastics, we have had this, that some customers ask that have we certified our fibers. The ones who buy wood For example, if somebody makes furniture out of wood, they know to ask for that. So it's a good additional feature. What else? We had chemicals. Of course, who said it in the beginning? We can replace everything which is done out of oil with bio-based. And that's part of the story in biochemicals. So we look for biochemical building blocks, building blocks for the chemical industry out of biomass. That will be one step. But a closer step is probably to use lignin as a chemical because it has some properties, and actually we sell already now lignin and activated lignin. One typical application is resins for glues or whatever, which is probably the first application which is on commercial basis already. Biofibrils has very interesting properties, and I take probably one very interesting one which we have encountered, which is a little difficult, I have to say, for a paper company to look at, but has been outstandingly interesting, and we have actually a lot of patent applications in this area. You can buy already Grodex through our website. It's a nanomaterial which can be used for 3D cell culturing. And here we don't sell tons. This is about 5 milliliters, and the concentration is something like 1 to 2%. So you can calculate how much fibers we have in there. We have a pretty high added value for the fiber in this product. And this is just one application where it performs tremendously. So it will be interesting, and specifically the biomedical area. There are many other applications which are being looked at where this material has interesting properties. It seems to have a very good biocompatibility, and at the same time it's antimicrobial. So it has a combination of features which is exciting. But we are going to see what kind of businesses grow out there. On the medical side, it's clear it takes always some time to get commercial. So why will we be in a very good position to take advantage of these changes in the bioeconomy? It's very simple. As I mentioned probably from many perspectives already in our presentation, we have the competencies which are needed for a large-scale use of biomaterials for the bioeconomy. We have access to the raw materials. We know how to process the raw materials. We know how to make conversions in big scale. And we are used to run large-scale industrial processes in a sustainable manner. So our industry has really a good chance to do these products, renewable, bio-based products. And as I mentioned also, the change has been real rapid. I told you at the beginning the change in structure, business structure which we did, and here you can see it in years. So 2003, basically something like 90% was paper sales. So we were really a paper company. And now only a little more than 10 years later, as I mentioned also in the beginning, we have about 50% of our sales is paper, and the rest of the business areas are more or less fast growing or growing business areas. I've been here only 4 years, and this constant change has meant a lot of adjusting and moving resources to new areas. That has been actually very nice, that you have new areas to work on, because you can also run into the situation that you don't have new areas, and then you have to restructure, and you basically have to say, sorry, I need only 2 people instead of 3. So I think this has been to some very positive in this respect, that we have had the chance to move the people to new areas and into new businesses to make the change happen. But it's challenging to have the same speed really in the growth as we need as a big company. And I think for us in our industry, that's an apparent fact, that we have to be fast, we have to be effective, and we have to act. I'm pretty much on schedule. I come to my summary, which will be short. In the forest industry, we know how to handle and how to source biomass sustainable. So we really can do the step to combine bioeconomy, circular economy, for more sustainable products. We can create new products. We can do more sustainable products. We will do a more sustainable world. And I think that's a nice story to tell at home. Hey, what are you doing, Dad? Yeah, I save the world. I do nice products which don't spoil the environment. I think it's a nice story. All of you who study in this area, remember this one. And I think our industry, you don't hear it very often anymore, but very often people refer to pulp and paper. Pulp and paper. It's pulp and paper, and it has stayed pulp and paper. But I think this will change. This perception will change within our industry. It will change also in public. It changes already. In Finland, it has begun already yesterday. It has begun earlier, but yesterday a nice example, I think. So, a pulp and paper company, no, it's not a pulp and paper company. We are in the bio-based industry, or what is the right wording for us? Bio-based industry is we produce energy, we produce chemicals, we produce renewable materials. We produce also tissue, we produce paper. But we are a big industry. We are also in construction. So there is a bright future ahead for us. We have just to grip it. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Very inspiring. And then we cut off the webcast. Okay. So, and now we come to the question. I know you've been sitting here writing down several questions, because I think we have some things to pick up from what you're doing in Finland. It would also be interesting to know if also the other Finnish forest companies are joining you